Obviously, this is just a plan from a think tank, albeit one that's got a pedigree of offering sound advice to the government that it then acts on. And it's got specifics, not least about locations.
Yes, and it's very important that this particular think tank has come together with this plan. Of course, we've had discussions about this on your show, and our think tank has also put out the ideas that we should be ensuring that those who come across on small boats, and we would argue even those that come on the back of lorries or come by a train, should immediately be removed out of the country and assessed elsewhere. What is important about this particular report is that it's also brought together some of the legal difficulties that we know those who oppose these ideas will challenge. And the first and most important of those is to deal with the Human Rights Act issues, which would try and prevent us from sending those channel migrants across to these particular venues. And I think they're dealing with it very well.
Stephen, in terms of the deterrent effect that's potentially in play here, it's a deterrent because people would know that if they were to make this journey successfully even, that would not mean they could then get lost in a labyrinthine system, which they can, as we've seen over the years, can be gamed and doesn't always work in the way we hope it will. The story today, which I'm sure you've probably read, 12,000 Afghans who are basically left in hotels. The government says we want to disperse you to different parts of the country. They say, actually, no thanks. Once people are in the country, the government stops being the author of its own destiny.
Absolutely, and that is why the Ascension Island is actually the most important of the three destinations. I recognise that Alderney is useful because you can divert the boats from actually touching onto the shore in Dover or Kent, but you'd then have to set up something like the Kent intake unit on Alderney to assess these people. That could be the first starting point, but why it is deterrent, and a serious deterrent being the Ascension Islands, is because it's much further in some ways than some of the places that many of these asylum applicants and migrants will be coming from. It will send a powerful message to them that they can't come into the UK and then disperse, as those 12,000 want to do, but it will also send a message to the people traffickers that their basic sales package, that we will pick you up wherever you want to go and get in very easily. And once you're there, you can stay. You'll get a house, you get the money, you'll get the opportunity to apply for asylum. And then if you're successful, happy days. That has gone. And that is really a very, very powerful message when you're being asked to pay up to £12,000 or £13,000 to travel from Afghanistan, Syria, Iran or Iraq to get to the UK.
Stephen, a final point. I mean, there's an element here, it strikes me, were this to happen, of short-term pain, long-term gain, because the short-term pain would be there's a sense in which there'd be a political cost. I think that's reasonable to say. There'd be people likening the system to the situation, to the scheme adopted in Australia. There'll also be a financial cost if you're flying people 4,000 miles to the Ascension Island, to Ascension. That's not going to be cheap, nor is the accommodation they have when they get there.
No, but if you look in terms of the costs that the government has spent on a 10-year plan for housing, it's £4.5 billion. And we realised, we provided with information from the government in the very last few weeks that they're spending £4.7 million a day on hotel fees. That's 1.7 billion. There's a sum of 2.7 billion that we're spending just on housing. We believe that that cost is much more significantly reduced by actually taking them to the Ascension Islands. So there will be a cost benefit for us if we do that in the long term. And politically, if Boris Johnson finally came up over the kind of hedges and said, I am going to support this, I believe those in the northern seats and the Midland seats that have brought in those Conservative MPs on the back of the idea that Brexit would mean taking back control, they would be solidified. Those areas would finally say, yes, you as a government are listening to our concerns. You're ignoring the kind of woke elite that believe in having mass migration, even if it comes in illegally, and you're actually listening to our concerns. Thank you very much. And I think that will be a political benefit for the Conservative Party.